off, I would like to invite the lovely interior designer, Ms. Joy Ejercito of PID, to walk us through the future of home spaces.
Thank you so much, Cherry. So let me share with you my slide. So if I can be made host, please. Okay, thank you. Okay. There you go. Okay, so thank you so much again, Cherry, for the introduction, and thank you, Enderon, for this opportunity to talk about the future of home spaces, the next normal at home. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me start by saying that it cannot be denied that COVID-19 has dramatically changed our lives, especially how we live and the way we work. Until now, not anyone is sure which changes will be the new normal, not even the next normal. But this pandemic should not necessarily be a bad thing, especially for the interior design profession. We should look at the opportunity by rethinking spaces, whether at home or in public. I want to quote the president of New York School of Interior Design, David Sprouse. He said, interior designers have always been responsive to changes in the culture, and those who adapted survived and brought the industry along with them. The interior design profession went through World War I and II, and the educational institutions like Bauhaus believed in the transformative skill of design. Just like in the years 1960s and 1970s, when everyone worked in the open space plan of their homes and offices, this pandemic will transform the society in realizing that they can still work productively from a workspace at home. Interior designers will rise to the challenge of rethinking the walls. There will now be a new definition of spaces. This social isolation is making people rethink the functionality of the importance of the spaces at home. When you are locked down or quarantined at home for a long time, for around 3.5 months, right? It becomes clear why interior design is all the more important. This quarantine has inspired people to nest and redecorate. In the age of pandemic, the home has become our world. Everyone wants to take care of the wellness and well-being at home to support the body, mind, and spirit throughout these difficult and challenging times. Due to this lockdown and quarantine, there is now a new definition of spaces at home. Moreover, there is a coming home routine that we need to do so we can still continue to live our lives. Our goal in this age of pandemic is to survive. As an interior designer, I can see that this pandemic has an effect in the interiors of a house, condo, or apartment. The interiors is now considered a safety zone for the unforeseeable future, keeping them clean as not to let the virus in. And as much as possible, we want to make our home a safe haven where we feel safe and comfortable and a retreat from the viruses and infections. Our home now has indeed become our world. When we say new normal, it comes in passing. It's temporary. But the term next normal, it means it's here to stay. It's permanent. So let me use the term next normal because I can see that this will come to stay in our homes. What is the next normal at home? First, the coming home routine. I'm sure that some of you have been through this since the GCQ. We always remind ourselves that when we get home, we do not go around the house just yet. Ang toxic, di ba? So what should you do first? We all have created this transition zone with the sanitizing area. And for me, I added the changing area. Just to remind you, these are the steps in the coming home routine when you are at the transition zone. To illustrate, I will show you a short video. So this is how I created my transition zone at home. And this is just an example of what I did to give you an idea. My transition starts with the disinfecting of the interiors of the car upon getting home. And so, of course, I asked my husband to do this for me. Now, the foot bath has this disinfectant solution which only cleans the sole of the shoe. So we still spray the top part with this just to be sure. And these slippers never leave the house, so they are for indoor use. When you sanitize with alcohol, it includes your arms. Sanitizing with alcohol just kills 99.9% of the viruses and bacteria, so you still need to wash your hands with soap. And that's my main painting area, which used to be the powder room. Again, I asked my husband to do that. So that's where we throw our clothes to laundry right away, and then we wash our hands, our face, and then we bathe. Then we go to the bathroom to bathe. Now, for this coming home routine, please know that for some, these steps can be shortened. Some would prefer to hose themselves and bathe with soap outside of the house before going through the transition zone. And some, especially those who live in a condo, will go straight to the transition zone, then to the bathroom and bathe. Another next normal is protecting ourselves from the viruses and infections. Do remember that coronavirus live on fomite or surfaces that carry infections for hours and days. So these are some of the information that I have gathered on how long they stay on surfaces. So they live on plastic, aluminum, paper, glass, wood, steel, surgical gloves, fabrics, and yes, hair. So how do we protect our home from these viruses, bacteria, and even germs? So lalabas na talaga dito yung pagka-OC natin. Because we need to disinfect daily the surfaces that are always being touched, so such as door handles or remote controls of TV and aircon, light switches, counters, faucets, and bed. Yes, skin cells and hair are also fomite. So spray your bed daily with disinfectant to keep it clean. And of course, do take a bath every day, even if you are just staying at home. And more importantly, clean your cell phone, tablet, iPad, and laptop every day. So if you have kids, teach them to sanitize your cell phone, tablet, iPad, laptop every day. That's my youngest, Rocio. So another next normal is the new definition of spaces at home. How do we define our spaces aside from having a transition zone that consists of the sanitizing and changing areas? So we now have to consider the following. One new definition of space is having a workspace for those who are working from home. First, create a niche in your house where no one can disturb you. You may place a note, do not disturb near you. And it also has to have a strong Wi-Fi for a clear audio and video connection. Wi-Fi connection indeed is important now during this pandemic. Also, it is important that you wear a headphone or earphones to eliminate unnecessary background noise and to avoid distracting those you are meeting with. And make sure that it has adequate lighting as not to strain the eyes and for a clearer video online. And to give you an idea, the ring light used for photography has the very good lighting. So that's what I am using now. Also, make sure that your back is facing a wall to avoid also having people pass by behind your back. Hindi rin naman maganda that may dumadaan na tao behind you while you're having an online virtual meeting. So it's so as not to distract you. I just want to remind everyone that even though you are working from home, do dress up appropriately, especially for business meetings, just like when you're having a face-to-face meeting. Well, this is important for the upper half of the body, and for the bottom half, bahala na kayo in whatever you feel comfortable with. So this is how I created my workspace pattern. Again, this is just an example of what I did to give you an idea. So during my online virtual meetings, I have 3 gadgets at home. The laptop is for the online virtual platform. The tablet is to answer messages in Viber and Messenger. And the cell phone is to take down notes and do research. So that's my daughter, Sophia, who's currently taking up interior design. Another new definition of space is the homeschool area. Due to this pandemic, parents will not allow their kids to go back to school until a cure and vaccine are found. On the other hand, the school's priority is their students' health. Thus, it is inevitable that the kids will have their online classes. So organizing the kids' homeschool area for their online classes is like creating a workspace for the adults. So what do you need to do? First, choose a spot where they will not be disturbed, especially when they're having their online exam. You may also place a note of do not disturb near them. Most importantly, this is an area where there is also a strong Wi-Fi connection. You don't want them to be disconnected while they're having their online exam, diba? And make sure that it has adequate lighting as not to strain the eyes and for a clearer video online. And again, it is important that they wear a headphone or earphones to eliminate unnecessary background noise and to avoid distracting their teacher and classmates. And this is how I created my homeschool area at home, just to give you an idea. So we have a gazebo at home where we would spend our family time together. So that was my son, Miguel. But due to the online classes of the kids, I converted it into a classroom to make them feel like they are in school. And this is another homeschool area created by my eldest daughter in the dining room who wanted to have more privacy. Another new definition of space is a virtual meetup area. We do physical distancing, but we cannot do away with social distancing. Kailangan pa rin natin ang human connection. Being stuck at home due to the ECQ, then the MECQ, and now the GCQ does not mean we will also be separated from our friends and loved ones. So keep in mind that remote socializing is also important, especially during this time of crisis. So first, if you will be having a virtual meetup while your kids are having their online classes and your spouse or a member of the family is busy at the workspace, choose a spot where you won't be disturbing them, be it for a book club chat or a distance party, virtual reunion, or praying together. And of course, it is important that you wear a headphone or earphones to eliminate the unnecessary background noise and to avoid distracting the other members in the house. Just to show you, this is how I get the virtual area. You will notice the backspace of a nice background. So choose a spot that will be your nice background. Or just have your backspace a blank wall. Then if you're using Zoom, then choose a nice virtual background. So that's my family was cooperative with me. Anyway, I'm sure that all of you will agree with me that one of our basic needs now, aside from food, water, clothing, shelter, electricity, is a Wi-Fi connection. So if you don't have it, we will not be able to handle well this current crisis. And it also served as a nice distraction for us, like the Netflix and YouTube, diba? And we are really thankful for this wonderful technology. I also want to go through the interior design trend at home. Aside from the new definition of spaces to consider, such as a closed scheme concept with partitions and separation of spaces instead of an open plan scheme for privacy and to avoid the rapid spread of the virus. The interiors will also focus on the health and safety, such as the sanitizing area that I have mentioned a while ago. And of course, we also have to consider our wellness and well-being during this time of crisis for that strong body, mind, and spirit. Thus, we have the Nexus interior, which I will define later. So to cope with this pandemic, the interiors will move towards this direction. So first, homes will move toward more automation to reduce the spread of the virus. There will be speeding up of the development of the touchless technology that are automated, voice-activated, hands-free, cell phone control. So eventually, there will also be the profuse use of Siri, Alexa, and Google to control things without having to touch. And this is an example of
Google, turn on master's
Google.
bedroom.
That was installed at my client's house for that touchless.
Galing.
So no need to touch the switch pads. Si Google na ang bahala magbukas ng mga ilaw. So pwede rin gamitin si Alexa. Second, to avoid the spread of the viruses and infections, interior designers will be specifying antibacterial fabrics and finishes, including the use of materials that already exist, like copper. The use of UV light for disinfecting spaces is also recommended, but use this without the people inside the room, as this can cause cancer and damage your eyes. You may use this for an hour in each space. I came across this disinfecting machine that disinfects the room even if there are people in it. This is the disinfectant aerosol sprayer. Pati damit at buhok ng tao madi-disinfect. So this is an example of the sprayer being used in a house of a client's patient. So third, people will want to rise up from this crisis and not feel sad and depressed. In these exceptional times, interior designers try to encourage everyone to have fun and to be creative in connecting the spaces with the family and the rest of the members of the house for that changed paradigm. And this is what you call the Nexus Interiors. Last month, the interior designers celebrated the World Interiors Day with the theme, Our Design in Isolation, Nexus in Quarantine. To go with this, I can see that there will also be the use of bold and bright colors in the interiors to help support the wellness and well-being. And just to inspire you or give you ideas on how I did the Nexus interiors in my house, I created this area just a few weeks ago to be used as a reading area where each member of the family can find peace and quiet to read a book or for solace. It is also expected that yellows will emerge to brighten up a space. So I added yellow in the family area to create a cheerful atmosphere. And I would also like to mention that one of our speakers in this webinar, interior designer Leslie Ledesma, made this sofa and armchair for me, including the throw pillows. So for the Nexus interior in my living room, I added different shades of green to help re-energize and rejuvenate. And this area is being used by the family to watch movies together or play games. And this is the most used area in the house where the whole family convenes to bond together before and after dinner, after we are done with our work, and as part of our work-life integration. Due to this pandemic, it's not anymore a work-life balance for us. Since some of us have gotten used to work from home, we now have a work-life integration where we synergize our work, personal life, community, health, and well-being. I created this common area last month where the kids can stay to chat to each other or to play with their games in the iPad before going to bed. I added blue throw pillows in this common area for calm and relaxation. And this area is mostly used by the kids as it is near their bedroom. So those are the those three areas that I showed you are the Nexus interiors in my house. And since people will be staying more indoors until the cure and vaccine are found, greeneries will be incorporated. There will be indoor gardening with artificial light to make the herbs and vegetables grow. There will also be vertical or wall gardens. In the slide, this is also an example of how I created an indoor vertical garden. So this is another of our Nexus interiors, our oasis. This has a great contribution to the wellness and well-being and even to health because it helps filter the air. Also, it relaxes me and my husband and lessens our stress when we water it. And it also uplifts our mood every time we look at it. So lastly, in this new world, people now appreciate more the things that matter. The material things have lesser relevance. Now we appreciate more the family, health, and safety. Also, we all realize that we can live less and that we now have a stronger sense of community and a greater sensitivity towards the environment. That's why local design and craftsmanship will rise to give a benefit towards local productions and to help support the government's effort to restore the economy. In other words, mahalin natin ang sariling atin. And in my house, I placed a swing or duyan at the veranda. This is made of thick rope a local product that we use to relax and reflect while looking at the garden. So dito nagmumuni-muni. Or if we are in a pensive mood or in deep thought, this is the place where we go. Sitting here gives us a different perspective of our home. Now more than ever, our homes are our sanctuary that provides comfort, a safe haven that provides social isolation, and retreat where we feel protected from the viruses and infections. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our next normal at home. Finally, keep in mind that we are at a curve point where we will look at spaces as a result of what we have been through, such as this pandemic. This pandemic will reflect in our interiors. Remember the World War I and II that I was telling you about, which also shaped the history of the interior design practice and profession? Interior designers will lead this change. Interior designers will work together and collaborate with the clients to be able to help solve professionally their problems in their interiors to make their lives easier and their homes into a more beautiful, functional, comfortable, and safe space during and after this crisis. And to all of you, please remember that we are all in this together. We will survive this. This too shall pass. Thank you and stay safe.
Thank you so much for such a comprehensive and insightful talk, Ms. Joy. I'm sure I'm not the only one here thinking that they would be definitely applying some of your Nexus Interior tips and ideas in their own homes as we move forward with shared office spaces. Interior designer and project director of Paper Space Philippines Incorporated,